I've made numerous different videos covering a variety of gacha games, from Genshin Impact to Honkai Impact briefly, to Tower of Fantasy. I attempted some Artery Gear Fusion, and then primarily now I cover Blue Archive, Arknights, and Genshin. And Arknights and myself have a very iffy relationship. Despite my videos featuring them being very popular, I don't necessarily play the game all too much. I log on, I get a character I like, and then I log off. However, Arknights has an amazing community. Arknights also has, in my opinion, some of the best systems as a gacha game, and it's also one of the best in terms of presentation. Starting up the game, you're greeted with a menu lobby screen that, in my opinion, is one of the most clean ones in a lot of gacha games, even compared to Blue Archive. I won't count Genshin because it's all over the place, kind of. So if you're talking about presentation, Arknights nails it. If you're talking about the music, I don't think it needs to be said. I pretty much think anybody, even if you haven't played the game and just hear the music, kind of know it's really good. It slaps pretty hard. Even that main menu theme, it's great. I've said before, the story of Arknights can be very interesting, but I personally don't like the way it's told to me, especially given that it kind of presents a lot to you at once. But I do like characters, and I think that Arknights as a whole nails the stylistic approach to character design and to pretty much every aspect of it, from the music to the menu to the art style of not only just the characters themselves, but the alternative outfits, the menu themes. Every single thing breathes and bleeds the same style and same aesthetic to the point to where everything matches. Nothing feels like it's out of place. Every new addition they make fits perfectly fine. Every new character fits. And I think if you're looking for a gacha game that, in my opinion, has it all together, I think Arknights is a great one. I think even if you're starting out early, yes, you have the sanity issues. Yes, you do have a lot you're going to be coming back to. And yes, you can't necessarily sweep or have the game autoplay certain missions for you. Well, you can, but nothing that's really quick. You kind of have to sit there with it. I think that Arknights has, in my opinion, a lot of the foundations of a much better gacha game. It's older, don't get me wrong, but I do think that Arknights nails it from beginning to end. When you're in the early game, you have so much content to do. When you're in the end game, you have hard, difficult content that can really push your account. And I think it nails that sense of progression, where earlier stages become easier and you can gradually see yourself moving along a line. Arknights quite legitimately presents the missions in a line, each one with difficulty increasing, each one with new enemies, each one with new variation, even the events. The events aren't easy. The events have easy stages, which are the super early ones, but if you really push past those, you're dealing with difficult content. The events aren't made easy. The game encourages you to build up your characters, to build up a roster, a diverse roster, because occasionally it will lock off certain units. Maybe you won't be able to use any ranges. Maybe you won't be able to place them in specific tiles. And if you only build up a certain set of units, then you're going to be at a severe disadvantage. Arknights, in my opinion, is the best at actively and organically pushing the player towards building different styles of units at different times. There's no objective, at least in my opinion, bad units. There's units who really don't make sense. There's units that you really wouldn't want to use, especially given alternatives, but there's not really a unit that you build and it's like, well, your account is ruined. And I think that's an exceedingly difficult thing to do, because with a variety of units, and don't get me wrong, Arknights has a variety of units. It's incredibly difficult to make each unit valuable and to make them all feel good. If you're someone like me who just sees a cute character and summons, then you'll find a vast majority of units you like in here. I'm pretty sure everybody here kind of knows, if you looked at the channel for a long period of time, I like foxes. I pulled Suzerain. I built Suzerain. I use Suzerain. I like the fox. I built Lionheart. I like him. And there are certain units that I really just enjoy, and I haven't had an issue with difficulty in terms of the game. I like Lapland. I've built her. She's amazing. And I think that if you're looking for an entry-level gacha game, the reason I personally and previously recommended Genshin is because it's the most like a normal console or PC game, to the extent to where it's much easier to dive into. But I think if you're looking for someone who maybe isn't necessarily keen or maybe isn't adverse to trying mobile games, I think Arknights is probably the best introduction to the gacha scene, because there's so much to do and there's such a variety of characters that when individuals pull, they're not inclined really to get duplicates. And even if they do, there's such a variety and such a wide roster that they're still going to have a lot of characters to pick and choose from. Whereas with Genshin, it's very difficult to kind of do that, because you're probably going to pick up a duplicate some way or another. And it's to this extent that I think Arknights, in my opinion, is a very special gacha game. And it's an almost perfect gacha game. You have nice music. That's a banger no matter what. You have events that push your account, give you story details on characters you probably care about, and the game encourages you to build more units. The game tries to get you to involve yourself with different aspects of the game. Your base actively supports you. Your units actively support you. You have your sanity, which can be used on missions, but hey, if you do really well on those missions, you get essentially sanity or pull currency in exchange. That currency that you can utilize, that you've gained, you can save up and buy skins with it. You can save up and buy alternative outfits. Don't get me wrong, if you want to say Arknights isn't free-to-play friendly, cool. I think there are a lot of gacha games that are free-to-play friendly. I think there are a lot that aren't, and I really think it's a matter of personal preference in terms of what you expect. If you expect to collect every single character and every single banner, look, you're going to have a very difficult time doing that. But I think Arknights presents itself really well. You have the monthly headhunting pass. You have the monthly cards to begin with. You still have a bunch of advantages. Arknights gives you a lot for the anniversary. Arknights really makes it an event. And even though I can sit here and say, yeah, you know what, the story, it's not for me, I can admit that everything else this game does is absolutely wonderful. You're going to have some units who are outright amazing. Silver Ash with his skill 2 is great. Or is it skill 3? It's one of those. You have units that are absolutely busted in terms of what they can do. And I understand that. Every game has it. Every game actively chooses to deal with it in some way or another. But even getting a busted unit won't allow you to just stomp content undeniably. There will be times where your busted unit doesn't help you. There will be times where you can't use that unit because they've been locked off from using a specific tile, or because you can't use a guard unit, or maybe you can't use vanguards. Maybe you can only utilize ranged units who go on a different tile entirely. And it's because of this that I do think Arknights has a nice way of organically forcing you to push and move outside of your comfort zone. You're going to have units that you really never touch, and I understand that. I have units that I never touch. But you're also going to have to build a lot more than you would in other games. Because you can't just run with a team of 4. You can't run with a team of 8 all the time. You can't run with a team of 12. You need to have a variety, and such a wide variety that in every situation, depending on the enemy you're facing, you have a solution. And it's this consistent cycle where every bit of progress you make, you can feel. You can see yourself progressing along the map. You can see yourself getting higher level chips or higher level drops and rewards and loot that you're going to need to actively build up in your base, whether that be to improve and expand production, whether that be to add more facilities, or whether that be to actively turn into a greater material to utilize to improve another unit. Everything you do, you have a goal. Everything you do has a purpose, and you can see that. And that's what I think makes this game great. It's not necessarily difficult to get into the game or get into any game. It's difficult to stick with it. And if a game can't hook you, especially a gacha game, can't hook you on the routine, on the grind, on the concept of improving your account, then I think it's failed. And Arknights, in my opinion, does that perfectly. And it does it all without making you feel like you have to spend money. And I think that makes it a truly special gacha game. My name's been Chica. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like down below, consider subscribing, and hey, give me your opinions on Arknights. I understand that I may make content that really isn't necessarily the most approving of it because I don't like how the story is presented, and I still maintain that opinion, but I like the characters, I like the style, and I like everything else I've mentioned in this video. Either way, hope to see you next time, and goodbye.